Welcome to the thermodynamics. In the last videos, we discussed the first law of thermodynamics. In this video, let us discuss the second law of thermodynamics. Before going to discuss the second law of thermodynamics, let us discuss the limitations of first law of thermodynamics. There are some limitations from the first law of thermodynamics. When first law was given by Joule, every scientist in the universe felt very happy that first law is sufficient to cover the total heat engineering or total thermodynamics. While the succeeding scientists like Clausius, Kelvin, Gibbs, Helmholtz, etc. were following the first law of thermodynamics, they found some difficulties with the first law of thermodynamics. First let us discuss those difficulties or limitations from the first law of thermodynamics. First law simply says that one form of energy can be converted to other kind of energy, but it doesn't give the clear information that what kind of energy can be converted to other kind of energy and what kind of energy cannot be converted to other kind of energy. Therefore, the first law fails. It fails to give the direction of energy transfer. Direction of energy transfer. That is the first limitation. Simply it states that one kind of energy can be converted to other kind of energy, but direction of energy transfer cannot be possible in all directions. For example, if I take the motor bicycle, while you are riding the motor bicycle is maintaining the mechanical energy. But once you reach the signal, you have to stop the vehicle at the signal. For that you are applying the brakes. Once you apply the brakes for stopping the vehicle, mechanical energy will be converted to heat energy. Because of that only the brake drum and brake shoe are maintaining high temperature. So anyhow, there the mechanical energy is converted to heat energy. But when I think to convert from heat energy to mechanical energy by simply cooling the brake drum and brake shoe, I cannot get the mechanical work. So there mechanical energy is converted to heat energy, but heat energy cannot be converted to mechanical energy. So that is the first failure or first limitation of the first law of thermodynamics. Anyhow, it fails to give the direction of energy transfer. Second limitation is it provides no information regarding the spontaneous process. Spontaneous process means natural process. So second limitation is no information. First law provides no information. First law provides no information regarding the spontaneous process. Spontaneous process means natural process. It provides no information regarding the spontaneous process. Next limitation is it is simply talking about the individual process and cyclic process, but it gives no information up to what extent a particular process can happen. Means it does not give it does not give any information. It does not give any information up to what extent a process can happen. A process can happen. That is the third limitation. Fourth limitation, it does not differentiate between the heat and work. The first law does not differentiate between heat and work. That means it does not show any difference between the heat and work. But practically, heat cannot be completely converted to other kind of energy. That is the reason heat energy is called low grade energy. But work energy can be completely converted to other kind of energy. That is the reason work energy is coming under high grade energy. Anyhow, fourth limitation is it does not differentiate between the heat and work. And the fifth limitation from the first law of thermodynamics is it doesn't provide any information regarding the irreversibilities of the process. No information it provides. It provides no information regarding the irreversibilities of the process. Irreversibilities of a process. It provides no information regarding the irreversibilities of a process. So these are all the limitations of the first law of thermodynamics. Whatever the limitations we are finding from the first law of thermodynamics, the answers can be obtained from the second law of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics is also called law of degradation of energy. The second law of thermodynamics is also called law of degradation of energy. First law of thermodynamics is talking about the quantity of energy, whereas second law of thermodynamics is talking about the quality of energy. Therefore, the first law of thermodynamics can also be called law of energy. The second law of thermodynamics is also called law of quality of energy or law of degradation of energy. Anyhow, the second law of thermodynamics is completely explained by two statements. First one is Clausius statement. The second one, Kelvin-Planck statement. The second law of thermodynamics is completely explained by two statements, Clausius statement and Kelvin-Planck statement. Clausius statement is talking about the refrigeration and air conditioning. Kelvin-Planck statement is talking about the heat engines. Though both are looking to talk different machines, violation of Clausius statement leads to violation of Kelvin-Planck statement, or violation of Kelvin-Planck statement leads to violation of Clausius statement. Anyhow, first let us discuss the Clausius statement. Clausius statement is like this. It is impossible to transfer the heat from low temperature source to high temperature source without help of any mechanical source. The class A statement, it states that it is impossible to transfer the heat from low temperature source to high temperature source without help of any mechanical source. That is a class A statement. It states that it is impossible to transfer the heat from low temperature source to high temperature source without help of any external source. As we know, naturally heat is transferring from high temperature location to low temperature location. But practically, it can be also possible to transfer the heat from low temperature location to high temperature location by connecting a mechanical mediator between the cold source and hot source. That is about the class A statement. It is impossible to transfer the heat from low temperature source to high temperature source without help of any mechanical source means if you connect the mechanical source between the cold source and hot source, it can be also possible to transfer the heat from low temperature region to high temperature region. Practical application from the class A statement is the refrigeration and air conditioning. Now let us discuss the refrigeration part. The refrigeration mechanism is like this. The refrigeration mechanism mainly consists of a compressor, condenser. This condenser in our domestic refrigerator is found at the back side of the refrigerator. Expander, this is expander and evaporator. This is the evaporator. Compressor, condenser, expander and evaporator. The block diagram, complete block diagram is like this. It should be constructed in the anti-clockwise direction. It should be connected in the anti-clockwise direction. All heat engine cycles must be in the clockwise direction. All anti-heat engineering cycles like refrigeration and air conditioning should be constructed in the anti-clockwise direction. It is in this particular direction. Remember, the refrigerator can carry the heat from low temperature location to high temperature location as long as that is working in the cyclic manner. Similarly, heat engine can convert from heat energy to work energy as long as it is working in the cyclic manner. By means of a single process, it is not possible to have the refrigeration mechanism or it is not possible to have the heat engine mechanism. Cyclic process are compulsory for refrigeration mechanism and heat engine mechanism. And remember, the working fluid used in the refrigeration system is called refrigerant. Whatever the working fluid that we are using for refrigeration mechanism is called refrigerant. Generally that we are calling as a gas. Gas means a kind of refrigerant only. Whenever you give the, now let us discuss the working principle of the refrigeration mechanism. Whenever you give the electrical energy or mechanical energy to the compressor, this compressor draws the refrigerant from the evaporator in the form of vapor state. That vapor refrigerant is compressing in the compressor. Because of the compression, pressure and temperature increase. That means the refrigerant is leaving from the compressor at very high temperature, maybe around at 90 degrees centigrade or 100 degrees centigrade. Generally, this condenser is kept in the open atmosphere. The local atmospheric air temperature may be 20 degrees centigrade. That means the refrigerant is trying to pass through the condenser coil. The refrigerant is trying to, this is the condenser coil. Through this condenser coil, refrigerant is passing with a temperature 90 degrees centigrade. And it is kept in the open atmosphere, may be maintaining 20 degrees centigrade. There is a temperature gradient between the refrigerant passing through the coil and surroundings. Because of that, the refrigerant is dumping the heat to the surroundings. Once the refrigerant is rejecting the heat to the surroundings, the temperature of the refrigerant decreases. Let the temperature of the refrigerant is decreasing from 90 degrees centigrade to some 40 degrees centigrade while it is passing through the condenser due to rejection of heat to surroundings. At this temperature, refrigerant is made to expand in the expander. In the expander, pressure is dropping and temperature, both pressure and temperature are dropping. So by the time the refrigerant is expanding, the temperature may be dropping from 4 degrees centigrade to some 2 degrees centigrade, something like this. Maybe negative temperature also. With this low temperature, the refrigerant is trying to pass through the evaporator. Evaporator means in our domestic refrigerator, it is the deep freeze region where we are keeping the working materials. This is the place where we are keeping the working materials. That working material may be either vegetables or fruits. While the refrigerant at 2 degrees centigrade is passing through the evaporator coil, the working material whatever you kept in the evaporator may be maintaining some 20 degrees centigrade, whereas refrigerant is entering at 2 degrees centigrade. Because of the temperature gradient, the working materials are dumping the heat to the refrigerant while it is passing through the evaporator. Because of that, its temperature, the working material temperature keep on decreasing. The working material temperature keep on decreasing due to transfer of heat to the refrigerant. So anyhow, by the time the refrigerant is passing through the evaporator, the refrigerant is extracting the heat from the working material, whatever you kept in the evaporator. Because of that, the temperature may be increased to 15 degrees centigrade or some 10 degrees centigrade or 15 degrees centigrade, let it be 10 degrees centigrade. With this temperature, the refrigerant is entering to compressor. The same cycle is getting repeated. The refrigerant is leaving from the evaporator at 10 degrees centigrade, means indirectly the working material whatever you kept in the evaporator may be cooled to 10 degrees centigrade. 10 degrees centigrade. Look at the temperature where the refrigerant is absorbing the heat. The refrigerant is absorbing the heat from the working material at 10 degrees centigrade and is dumping the heat to the surroundings at 20 degrees centigrade. So indirectly In this case, heat is transferring from a body at 10 degrees centigrade to another body at 20 degrees centigrade with the help of mechanical mediator called compressor. That is the Clausius statement. Clausius statement states that it is impossible to transfer the heat from low temperature location to high temperature location without help of any mechanical source. It means when you keep the condenser and evaporator side by side, since condenser is maintaining high temperature, it is dumping the heat to the evaporator. But in this case, the heat is transferring from evaporator to condenser with the help of mechanical mediator called compressor. That is the beauty of Clausius statement. The Clausius statement, once again, Clausius statement states that it is impossible to transfer the heat from low temperature location to high temperature location without help of any mechanical source. It means it is also possible to transfer the heat from low temperature location to high temperature location if you connect the mechanical mediator between the low temperature location and high temperature location. With this, I am closing the Clausius statement. In the next video, we will try to clearly discuss the Kelvin-Planck statement. Thank you very much.